That night, under the amber chandelier light and the clink of champagne flutes, my own parents mocked the makeup I'd applied right in front of the entire family. My Aunt Valerie tilted her head back, catching her reflection in the mirror. Like a clown. The laughter hit me like loose powder slapped across my face. They had no idea I was a professional makeup artist, and tonight would be the last time they'd ever laugh at my dreams. My name is Harper Lane, and I've spent 31 years learning that in my family. Worth is measured in office square footage and salary brackets, not in the joy you bring to someone's face when they finally recognize themselves in the mirror. The Maple Row Country Club had been draped in gold for my grandfather's 60th birthday. Everything gleamed the restored mahogany panels, the crystal drops on the chandeliers, even the polished silverware that caught fragments of faces around the room. I'd arrived early, hauling my portable kit through the service entrance because the valet kept redirecting me, assuming I was hired help, which, technically, I was just not paid. 3 of my younger cousins had clustered in the powder room, begging me to work my magic before the photographer arrived. I'd obliged, the way I always did, creating subtle contours that would catch the professional lighting just right, teaching them how to blot without disturbing the finish. They'd squealed at their reflections, snapping selfies, their confidence blooming like pressed powder under warmth. By 7:45 p.m., the main hall pulsed with conversation. My father, Richard Lane of Harrigan and Ward, held court near the bar, discussing billable hours with another partner. My mother, Lorna, stood with the other VistaCare health administrators, her clipboard mentally tallying every interaction like it was a staff meeting. My brother Mason had flown in from New York, his Northline Capital business card somehow finding its way into every handshake. My younger sister Brielle floated between groups, her bright quill media badge still clipped to her dress, accidentally visible. And me, I stood by the dessert table, watching the event photographer adjust his lights, studying how the setup would interact with different skin tones. That's when Mom approached. "Harper, honey, come. Family photo." The photographer had us arranged by height. I ended up between Brielle and Aunt Valerie, my mother's sister, who ran the Shine Forward Foundation and never let anyone forget it. As the photographer checked his frame, my mother reached over, fingers hovering near my face. "You've caked it on a bit thick tonight, haven't you?" She said it softly, but in that particular frequency that carries across marble floors. My father glanced over, that courtroom assessment in his eyes. "The office won't hire." "That much foundation." "Harper, you should know that by now." The words hung there, crystallizing in the climate-controlled air. Then Aunt Valerie laughed, not a chuckle, but a full-throated release that turned heads 3 tables over. "Oh my God, Lorna, she does look like a clown!" Valerie's voice pitched higher with delight. "Look at the highlight, it's practically reflective." The photographer lowered his camera. 2 cousins pulled out their phones. Someone, I think it was Mason's date, stifled a giggle behind her hand. The moment stretched and warped, the way time does when you're standing at the center of public humiliation, your face burning beneath the very foundation they're mocking. I didn't move, didn't speak. My eyes caught the projection setup in the corner where the event company was preparing the slideshow, the technician adjusting the feed on his laptop. The same company, Oak and Lantern Events, that handled most of the corporate functions in Cleveland. I recognized their logo, remembered their card in my wallet from a previous inquiry about wedding packages. "Come on." Brielle tugged my arm, her voice sugary with fake concern. "Let's get you cleaned up. I have makeup wipes in my purse." "I'm fine," I said. My voice came out steady, professional, the same tone I used with difficult clients. "This is actually a specialized technique for photography. The lighting here requires—" "Oh, Harper." Mom's sigh could have deflated a hot air balloon. "Not everything is about your little hobby." "Little hobby." The photographer raised his camera again. "Everyone ready? Big smiles." The flash fired. In that burst of white light, I saw it all clearly how I'd never be more than a punchline to them. a cautionary tale about wasted potential. They'd never step foot in Second Son's studio, never understand that my little hobby had helped 17 women land jobs after teaching them interview-appropriate makeup. They'd never know about the bride who'd sobbed with relief when I covered her stress breakout the morning of her wedding. But as I held that smile, frozen in the family portrait, I made a decision. They wanted to make me a spectacle, fine. I'd give them a show they'd never forget. Growing up in the Lane household meant achievements were currency and success was measured in letterhead. My father would leave at 6:30 a.m., return at 9 p.m., his briefcase heavy with depositions. My mother ran VistaCare's cardiac wing like a military operation, every minute scheduled, every outcome documented. Mason had his first investment portfolio at 14. Brielle won her school's marketing competition 3 years running. And then there was me, sitting on Grandma Ida's bathroom counter, watching her apply cold cream with the reverence of a prayer. "See how the light changes everything," she'd say, tilting my chin toward the window. "Morning light shows truth. Evening light forgives." But artificial light, that's where the real magic happens. You can make someone feel like they deserve to be in the picture. Grandma Ida had been a department store beauty consultant in the 70s, back when they wore pink uniforms and knew every customer's name. She taught me to read undertones like sheet music, to see how blue veins meant cool, green meant warm, and both meant neutral. She showed me how powder could be architecture, how the right blush placement could lift a whole face without surgery. "Beauty isn't vanity, Harper," she'd say, dotting concealer with her ring finger. "It's armor. It's the 5 minutes before a job interview when a single mother looks in the mirror and believes she can do this." She died when I was 22, right after I'd graduated with my business communications degree. At her funeral, my mother found her collection of vintage compacts and tried to throw them away. I salvaged them from the garbage, along with a note tucked inside her favorite Stratton case. "Don't wait for permission to shine. The light is already yours." I enrolled in cosmetology school that same week, night classes, because I was working days at Budget Beauty on East 185th Street, the kind of place where you learned to match foundation under fluorescent lights and make $15 mascara look like 40. The owner, Carmen, taught me about service, how to really listen when someone said, "just a little color," how to read the exhaustion in a mother's eyes and send her home feeling human again. My family's response was predictable. Dad called it expensive face painting. Mom suggested I transfer to healthcare administration, at least adjacent to real careers. Mason sent me spreadsheets about the beauty industry's failure rate. Brielle posted inspirational quotes about finding your true calling while tagging me in none of them. But I kept going, saved every penny. Studied color theory until I could mix custom foundation in my sleep. Practiced on anyone who'd sit still the cashiers at Giant Eagle. My landlord's daughter, the entire third shift at Cleveland Clinic's ER during their break. I learned that confidence wasn't just about the face you showed the world, but about recognizing your own worth in the mirror. The dream crystallized slowly. Second Son House. Not just a studio, but a sanctuary. A place where women coming out of shelters could get professional headshots, where teenagers could learn to do their makeup for job interviews without YouTube tutorials filmed in perfect lighting they'd never have, where mothers could bring their trans daughters and know they'd be safe, seen, celebrated. I sketched floor plans on receipt paper, calculated wholesale costs for bulk foundation ranges, researched grants for women-owned businesses, for community development, for arts organizations. The business plan lived in a binder that grew thick with possibilities testimonials from clients, before and after photos, partnership proposals with local photographers, and resume coaches. When I finally saved enough for the van, a 2018 Ford Transit I'd found on Craigslist, I invited my family to the soft launch. I'd spent 3 days detailing the interior, installing LED panels that mimicked natural light, creating a mobile boutique that could bring beauty anywhere. The invitation said 2 p.m. on Saturday, Edgewater Park, with a small card. Come see what your daughter's sister has built. 2 p.m. came and went. 2:30. 3. At 3:15. Brielle texted, "Sorry, quarterly review prep. Looks cute though." She'd seen it on Instagram, hadn't even tried to come. Mason, in NYC, next time. Mom, your father has a golf thing. Dad, nothing. But 17 clients showed up, women I'd worked with at wedding shows, at charity events, at 6 a.m., calls for commercial shoots. They brought flowers, homemade cookies, their daughters. One of them, Maria, had landed a corporate job after I'd taught her about undertones and blending. She pressed $50 into my hand despite my protests, whispering, "You gave me my face back after chemo. This is nothing." That night, I sat in my empty van, Grandma Ida's compacts arranged on the vanity I'd built, and understood the truth I'd never be enough for them, not until I forced them to see me. The light was mine. I just had to figure out how to make them look. The van became my universe. Every morning at 5 a.m., I'd check the weather, plan my route, load fresh inventory, permits for Shaker Square on Tuesdays, West Side Market on Saturdays, pop-ups at Riverview Bridal, where brides would discover me while dress shopping and book on the spot. Little Finch Studio started referring their portrait clients, knowing I could prep faces for their specific lighting setup. I named every brush, learned every neighborhood's rhythm. The morning crowd at Phoenix Coffee wanted no makeup. The Tremont artists preferred editorial bold. The suburban mothers at Legacy Village needed reassurance that 45 wasn't too old for highlighter. I kept notes on everyone: Amanda's rosacea, Keisha's hyperpigmentation, Joan's tremor that made eyeliner impossible until I showed her the tape trick. The business grew in small, vital ways. A feature in Cleveland Scene, an Instagram collaboration with local influencers, the work-ready look package, $35 for interview makeup and a lesson in maintaining it, booked solid after one of my clients tagged me in her "I got the job" post. Then came the Cuyahoga Chronicle opportunity. Their lifestyle editor wanted to profile women entrepreneurs reimagining Cleveland. The photographer would meet me at my biggest event yet, a partnership with 5 local vendors at the Solstice Festival in Lakewood Park. I'd have a prime spot, professional signage, and potentially 300 visitors. I texted the family group chat 2 weeks early. June 21st, noon to 6 p.m., major press opportunity for Second Son. Would mean everything to have you there. Mom responded first. "That's Brielle's promotion celebration. We've had Fahrenheit reserved for weeks." The reservation she'd never mentioned. For a promotion Brielle hadn't gotten yet. "I could stop by after," I typed, then deleted. Typed again. "Maybe Brielle could celebrate at the festival, support both." "Don't be selfish," Dad wrote. "Your sisters worked 3 years for this. I'd worked 5. But I didn't send that. The day came gray and humid, the kind of Cleveland weather that makes makeup slide. I'd prepared for it, setting spray, waterproof everything, blotting papers free with every service. By 11 a.m., my tent was perfect mirrors positioned to catch natural light, portfolio books displaying transformations, the vintage compacts from Grandma Ida arranged like artifacts. The Chronicle photographer arrived at noon, started shooting while I worked on a bride-to-be. Her friends gathered around learning about their own undertones. The energy was electric, women laughing, sharing stories, that particular joy when someone sees themselves differently. Then the rain started, not a drizzle, not a shower. A biblical downpour that sent vendors scrambling, tents collapsing, crowds running for cars. The Chronicle team packed up apologetically, promising to reschedule. I spent 2 hours salvaging inventory, makeup palettes bleeding color into their cases like watercolors. My phone buzzed. 16 notifications from family chat. Photos of Brielle holding champagne, her new director of marketing badge gleaming. Mom's caption, "So proud of our executive daughter." Mason had flown in from New York for it. They'd hired a photographer. I sat in my soaked tent, rain drumming on vinyl, and typed, "Congratulations, Brielle." Then deleted the family chat. That night, Dad texted privately. "Heard the festival was a wash. We need to discuss Second Son's viability. This isn't sustainable. Harper." I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my voice memos, 17 of them, saved over months. Maria talking about her chemo. Destiny describing how I'd taught her to cover bruises from her ex before court. Angela, 63, crying because she'd felt invisible until I showed her that women don't expire. These weren't just testimonials. They were evidence, proof that what I did mattered, even if my family couldn't see it. I spent the rest of the night planning. Not just another pop-up or partnership, but something bigger. If they wanted to discuss viability, I'd show them what Second Son really was. I'd make them see these women, hear these voices. I'd create a moment they couldn't ignore, couldn't scroll past, couldn't schedule over. The van's interior lights flickered, the electrical system still glitchy from the rain, but I kept working, sketching, planning, building what would become the Glow Fair, though I didn't know the name yet. I only knew that I was done being background in their photos, done being the family disappointment they mentioned in hushed tones. By dawn, I had 20 pages of notes, vendor agreements, sponsorship proposals, a timeline that would culminate exactly when my family would be forced to pay attention. They wanted to talk viability. I'd give them undeniable. Monday morning, 8:45 a.m. I was cleaning brushes in the van when I heard car doors slamming in sequence, that particular rhythm of coordinated ambush. Through the window, I watched them approach like a corporate merger team, Dad with his leather portfolio, Mom carrying manila folders, Mason on his phone, Brielle with an iPad. Harper, Dad knocked once, perfunctory. We need to talk. They filed into my van, their presence immediately shrinking the space I'd built. Mom's nose wrinkled at the smell of brush cleaner. Mason bumped his head on the ring light. Brielle touched nothing, as if poverty might be contagious. We've discussed this as a family, Dad started, placing a document on my makeup station. Conway Commercial Liquidators will give you $12,000 for the van as is. That's enough to cover your outstanding loans and leave you with startup capital for something more viable. I recognized the contract format from his firm. He'd probably had his secretary draw it up. Mom opened her folder. VistaCare has an opening in patient relations. Full benefits, matching 401k, room for advancement. I've already spoken to HR. Mason turned his phone toward me, a spreadsheet with red numbers cascading down. Your cash flow. Harper, I pulled your credit report. You're hemorrhaging money. The insurance alone. And Brielle interrupted, bright as artificial sweetener. Brightquill needs someone for our beauty vertical. You'd be perfect for community management. Real marketing experience, community management. Answering Instagram comments for my little sister. They stood in my carefully organized van, every product in its place, every tool cleaned and stored, the walls covered with thank you cards from clients, and saw only failure. You have 48 hours to decide, Dad said. After that, we're withdrawing all support. No co-signing for apartments, no emergency loans, no family dinners until you show you're serious about your future. The ultimatum hung between us like setting spray, invisible but suffocating. That's when the knock came, not tentative like Dad's, but confident. Marisol Vega stood outside, her Luna North salon bag over her shoulder, silver hair catching morning light like she'd planned it. Sorry to interrupt, she said, though she clearly wasn't. Harper, we have the Cleveland Foundation meeting in 20. We had no meeting, but I'd trained Marisol in contouring technique 3 years ago when she was starting out, and she'd never forgotten. The grant review, I said, playing along. $15,000 for community development. Marisol stepped into the van, presence filling the space differently than my family's, like she belonged here, plus the partnership with my VIP clients for the career fair. Mom straightened. You're Marisol Vega. You own Luna North. 3 locations now. Marisol smiled, razor sweet. Harper taught me the clean technique that became our signature, probably why we're booked through September. She turned to me, ignoring them completely. The foundation loves the Work Ready Look program. 17 women employed after your training. That's impact metrics. Dad shifted. Mason stopped scrolling. Brielle's smile flickered. But family first, Marisol said. tone shifting to concern so false it sparkled. "Are these your parents, the ones who missed your Riverview bridal showcase? Such a shame you should have seen the crowd." She knew exactly what she was doing. I loved her for it. "We should go," I said. "Can't keep the foundation waiting." "Of course not." Marisol looked at my father's contract, still lying on the station. "Is that the liquidation paperwork some people give up right before the breakthrough? Thank God Harper's not one of them." My family stood frozen. Their intervention script shattered. Mom managed. "We're just trying to help," by suggesting she sell her business to work under her younger sister. Marisol's laugh was perfectly calibrated. "That's certainly one approach to support." After they left, Dad shoving the contract back in his portfolio, Mom muttering about influences, Brielle suggesting they were now late for lunch, Marisol sat in my styling chair. "They're never going to see it, mija. Not until you make them." "I know." She pulled out her phone, showing me an event listing. "Lake Erie Pavilion, next month. Your parents' anniversary party. My client is on the planning committee at Oak and Lantern. They need a makeup artist for VIP guests. They'll never approve. They won't know. Bookings under Second Sun Studio, through Oak and Lantern, third-party vendor." She smiled. "You'll have full access to the venue. The AV system. The guest list includes every Shine Forward donor. My aunt's foundation, the one that preached empowering women while she laughed at them." "It's perfect," I whispered. That night, I found Grandma Ida's compact in my kit, the one I'd grabbed in my rush to seem professional during the intervention. Inside, tucked behind the mirror, was another note I'd never seen. "Don't wait for them to give you permission to shine. The light was always yours." I pressed the compact to my chest and started planning. The alliance formed quietly, like foundation building in thin layers. Marisol brought her Network 3 salon owners who'd been shut out of Shine Forward Foundation grants despite qualifying. Tommy from Little Finch Studio joined after hearing how my family had no-showed my launch while flooding Instagram with Brielle's promotion. Rebecca from Riverview Bridal had her own axe to grind with Aunt Valerie, who'd promised the foundation would sponsor wedding dresses for underprivileged brides, then redirected funds to a golf tournament. We met at Roman Rye, the coffee shop whose owner, Janet, had been doing free resume workshops in the back room for years without recognition. While my family celebrated Brielle's marketing campaigns at chain restaurants, we huddled over cortados and spreadsheets, building something real. "We call it the Glow Fair," I said, spreading mock-ups across reclaimed wood tables, free beauty services, headshot stations, interview coaching. Everything someone needs to walk into opportunity looking and feeling ready. "But that's just the surface," Marisol added. "The real show happens at the pavilion." I'd spent 3 weeks studying event production, not just makeup under stage lights, but how those lights worked. Color temperature measured in Kelvin 3200 K for warm tungsten, 5600 K for daylight, and the disaster zone of 4000 K, where cheap foundation oxidized into orange mask. Most people never noticed, but under the right conditions, with the right demonstration, they would. Tommy pulled up the technical specs for Lake Erie Pavilion's AV system. They upgraded last year, full projection mapping capability, individual spot controls, and, he grinned, live feed integration with automatic source switching. "English, please," Rebecca laughed. "It means," I said, "we can show anything on those screens. Live demonstrations, comparison videos, truth." Janet leaned forward. "What truth exactly?" I pulled out my phone, found the video from Grandfather's party. One of my cousins had posted it to her private Instagram, forgetting I followed her. There was Valerie, head thrown back, saying those words, like a clown. There was Mom, laughing along, Dad, shaking his head with that courtroom disappointment, the whole family, united in their mockery. "This," I said quietly. "Public behavior at a public event. Nothing illegal about showing what really happened." The room went silent. Then Janet whispered, "Holy shit." "The foundation's biggest donors will be there," Rebecca said slowly. "The ones who think Valerie walks on water while empowering women." "Exactly," I pulled up the event contract Oak and Lantern had sent. I'm officially responsible for the True Tone booth, a demonstration of how lighting affects makeup. Educational, interactive, completely above board. Marisol was already sketching the setup. You'll need plants in the audience. People who know what's coming? I have 17 women from the Work Ready Look program. They've all agreed to attend. What about legal protection? Tommy asked. Everything shown will be from public events, filmed in public spaces with no expectation of privacy. I'm not making any false claims about the foundation's finances or lying about anyone, just contextualizing their behavior against their stated values. Over the next 3 weeks, we refined every detail. I studied the pavilion's layout, timed the acoustic delay from stage to back tables, tested how different foundations reacted under their specific lighting grid. I wrote my speech 17 times, cutting it down to 90 seconds of surgical precision. Janet's nephew, a sound engineer, explained how to lock an audio channel once you had control. Corporate events always have redundancies, but if you're on the approved vendor list, your content gets priority routing. The Glow Fair would run the Saturday before the anniversary party, close enough to generate buzz, far enough that my family wouldn't connect them. We'd document everything: the women getting free services, the confidence transformations, the testimonials about Second Son's impact, evidence of what I really did versus what my family assumed. You're not just exposing them, Marisol said one night as we sorted supplies. You're showing everyone who you really are. No, I corrected, testing a new setting spray under heat lamps. I'm showing them who they really are. There's a difference. The invitation arrived 2 days later, embossed cardstock for Richard and Lorna Lane's 35th anniversary. My name wasn't on it, of course, but Second Son Studio was on the vendor list, approved by Oak and Lantern, contracted for VIP makeup services. I thought about Grandma Ida's compact, about permission and light, about the 17 women who'd trusted me with their faces and their stories. My family had given me 48 hours to choose between their version of success and total exile. I chose neither. I chose the truth. Filmed at 60 frames per second under 5600K balanced light. They wanted viable, I'd give them undeniable. 4:30 p.m., Lake Erie Pavilion. I arrived through the service entrance, pulling my equipment on a cart marked with Second Son's logo. The space hummed with preparation, florists adjusting centerpieces, servers polishing silverware, the Oak and Lantern crew running cable beneath elegant draping. Nobody looked twice at another vendor. The pavilion's main hall stretched beneath vaulted ceilings, all glass and exposed beams designed to catch sunset light. By 7 p.m., it would glow golden. By 8, the automated lighting would take over exactly the conditions I'd tested for. You're the makeup artist, the AV technician, barely 25 with gauges and a clipboard. Didn't look up. Your station's over there, but we need you to test the True Tone booth setup first. I'd requested the booth specifically through Oak and Lantern, pitched as an interactive experience where guests could see how different lighting affected their appearance. Educational, entertaining, harmless. I'll need projection access, I said, unloading my ring lights. For the demonstration portion, yeah, you're already in the system. He handed me a tablet showing the AV interface. Channel 7 is yours. You've got 90 seconds in the main program, plus whatever interaction time. Don't go over the client's strict about timeline. The client, my parents. I spent the next hour positioning everything perfectly. The booth consisted of 3 panels of mirrors surrounded by professional lighting I could control via tablet-warm tungsten, cool daylight, mixed sources that would reveal every oxidized foundation, every wrong undertone, every lie makeup told when applied without skill. At 5:45, the Oak and Lantern coordinator, Patricia, appeared with her headset and schedule. Second Son, you're handling VIP touch-ups plus the demonstration, correct? Correct. I have the video components ready. Perfect. We'll cue you after the toast, but before the foundation presentation. She checked her list. The Shine Forward donors especially requested to see the makeup demonstration. Apparently, there's interest in funding beauty programs. Of course there was. Valerie loved attaching her name to things that photographed well. By 6:30, guests started arriving. I stayed in my designated corner, touching up lipstick for women who didn't recognize me, watching through the mirrors as my family made their entrance. Dad in his best suit, Mom coordinated in sapphire, Brielle documenting everything for her Instagram, Mason with a date who looked bored already, and Valerie, draped in foundation-branded scarves, holding court near the bar. At 7:15, my planted audience members arrived the 17 women from Work Ready Look, plus Marisol, Tommy, Rebecca, and Janet, all dressed appropriately but strategically positioned. When the demonstration started, they'd be close enough to react, far enough to seem organic. Harper. I froze, turned. My cousin Melissa stood there, one of the ones I'd done makeup for at grandfather's party. I didn't know you'd be working tonight. She seemed genuinely pleased. Could you touch up my foundation? The photographer keeps saying there's something off with the lighting. I looked at her foundation department store, wrong undertone, oxidizing exactly as predicted. Of course, have a seat. As I worked, she chatted. Aunt Valerie's been weird lately. Super focused on image. You know she hired this whole PR team to remake the foundation's brand. Says they need more visual storytelling. Interesting, I murmured, blending correct tones along her jawline. There. I turned her toward the mirror. See the difference? Her eyes widened. Oh my God, the other side looks orange. That's oxidation. Happens with certain formulas under mixed lighting. Here, I handed her a card. This shows which foundations work with your undertone. She hugged me impulsively. You're amazing. I don't care what Aunt Valerie says about... She stopped, flushed. About what? Nothing. Just... She's been going on about professional standards since that video from Grandpa's party. You know, where she called you. She trailed off again. A clown. I finished quietly. Yes, I know. Melissa looked stricken. Harper, I'm sorry. That was horrible. It was honest, I said. And tonight's about honesty. At 7:45, Patricia's voice crackled through the headset they'd given me. True Tone booth, you're up in 10. I made my way to the demonstration area. The lights were already adjusting, the projection screen descending behind me. My family sat at the head table, 20 feet away, still oblivious to who stood at their anniversary party. The tablet showed everything ready lighting controls, video feed, the comparison clips loaded in sequence. My hands were steady as I adjusted the final angle. This was it. 3 weeks of preparation, 17 women's stories, and 31 years of being dismissed, all compressed into 90 seconds of truth under perfect light. Patricia's voice again. And now, a special presentation on the science of beauty. Please welcome our True Tone specialist. The spotlight hit. There was no hiding now. My mother's champagne glass stopped midway to her lips. My father's expression shifted from confusion to recognition to something approaching rage. And Valerie. She smiled, not recognizing danger when it stood right in front of her, holding the controls to every light in the room. Good evening, I said into the microphone, my voice carrying clean across the pavilion. I'm Harper Lane, and tonight we're going to talk about truth. The spotlight held me in its circle, but I could see everything Dad half standing, Mom's hand on his arm, Brielle's phone already recording. Light can lie, I continued, touching the tablet. The mirrors around me shifted through color temperatures warm to cool to that deadly middle zone. But people shouldn't. Behind me, the projection screen split. On the left, a live feed of the demonstration booth. On the right, still empty, waiting. This is the True Tone booth. No filters, no heavy layers, just you, under honest light. I smiled at the audience. Would someone like to volunteer? Valerie's hand shot up before anyone could stop her. Of course, she never could resist a spotlight. My aunt, Valerie Lane, I announced as she approached. Founder of Shine Forward Foundation, dedicated to what's your tagline again? Empowering women to recognize their worth? She said into the mic, preening. Beautiful. I guided her into the booth. Stand right here, now. Everyone watch what happens when we shift from flattering tungsten to daylight-balanced LED. The lights changed. Valerie's foundation, expensive but wrong for her undertone, went ashy. The crowd murmured. She laughed, uncomfortable. But here's what's really interesting, I said. The right side of the screen flickered to life. There she was, grandfather's party. Head thrown back, pointing at me, declaring to the entire room, "Oh my God, she looks like a clown." The pavilion went silent. I let it play. The laughter. My mother joining in. The phones coming out. The moment stretching like pulled taffy. That was 11 weeks ago, I said conversationally. A public event, multiple witnesses, the clown in question. That was me, wearing makeup I'd applied, at a family celebration where I'd volunteered my services. Valerie stood frozen in the booth, her face cycling through expressions under the unforgiving light. Now, I continued, let's talk about Shine Forward's mission. Empowering women, right building confidence. Tell me, Valerie, is public humiliation part of that empowerment? Is laughing at someone's appearance how we build women up? Harper, my father's voice cut through. But Patricia was already there with security, keeping him from the stage. The program was the program. I had my 90 seconds. Because here's what you didn't see that night. The screen changed. Voice recordings. Transcribed. Thank you for teaching me to do my makeup for court. I got custody of my kids. The interviewer said I looked professional. First job in 3 years. You made me feel visible again after my husband said no one would want me. 17 women, I said. Employed after free makeup lessons. These aren't just faces I painted. These are lives that changed because someone took 90 minutes to show them their own worth in a mirror. I turned to the audience, finding my planted supporters but also seeing others donors, society women, people who'd heard Valerie's speeches about female solidarity. The Shine Forward Foundation has beautiful pamphlets about supporting women's ambitions. Meanwhile, its founder stands in public spaces mocking women for trying. I looked directly at Valerie. So, who's really the clown here? The woman building a business that's helped 17 people find work, or the one who tears others down for sport? My mother stood up. This is inappropriate. Inappropriate. I pulled up another video, this one from tonight, just 40 minutes ago. Melissa's before and after in the touch-up chair, the orange oxidation on one side, the correct match on the other. Inappropriate is claiming to support women while creating environments where your own family becomes a punchline. The women from Work Ready Look stood up in sequence, not aggressive, just present, visible. Maria spoke first. She taught me to cover chemo scars for free. Then Angela. I'm 63. She made me feel beautiful again. Destiny. She showed me how to look like myself, not a victim, in court. One by one, 17 testimonies. While Valerie stood trapped in the Truth Tone booth, her foundation separating under the lights, her donors watching, her PR team scrambling. I'm not here to humiliate anyone, I said, though clearly I was. I'm here because mockery is not mentorship, cruelty is not constructive criticism, and laughing at someone's dreams in public is not love. I touched the tablet one more time. Every light in the pavilion shifted to 5600K daylight balanced, unforgiving, true. Take a good look, I said. This is what we all look like under honest light. The question is, can you handle what you see? The 90 seconds ended. The screen went dark. Patricia's voice crackled. Thank you for that. Illuminating demonstration. But I wasn't done. As I walked past the head table, I stopped, looked at my parents, my siblings, all frozen in their formal wear. The offer to sell my van expires tonight, I said quietly, but the mic was still hot, still broadcasting. I decline. Then louder, to everyone. Second Sun Studio will be hosting free makeup services every Sunday for women entering the workforce, because real empowerment doesn't come with conditions. The applause started in the back my planted audience, but it spread. Not everyone, but enough. Enough to show that truth. Under the right light was impossible to ignore. The room fractured into competing sounds, chairs scraping, voices rising, a champagne flute hitting the floor with a crystalline shatter. Valerie stumbled out of the booth, her PR team rushing forward like emergency responders, tablets and phones already working damage control. "You planned this," my father said, his lawyer voice cutting through chaos. His face had gone past red into something purple. Dangerous. "This is defamation. It's video evidence from a public event," I said, setting the microphone down carefully. "Your partners at Harrigan and Ward would know the difference." My mother stood frozen, her sapphire dress catching the honest light, making her look older, more fragile than I'd ever seen her. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. No words came. Brielle had stopped recording. Her phone hung limp in her hand, her director of marketing confidence crumbling as she realized this would be everywhere by morning. Mason just stared, calculating reputational damage like a spreadsheet. Around us, the party writhed. Some donors headed for exits, others pressed closer, phones out, capturing aftermath. Patricia from Oak and Lantern spoke rapidly into her headset, probably calling legal, definitely preserving the contract that specified 90 seconds of demonstration time, fulfilled to the letter. Valerie's voice rose above the noise, shrill and defensive. "It was a joke. Harper knows it was just family teasing." "No!" The word came out clean, sharp. "It wasn't teasing. It was you showing exactly who you are when you think nobody's recording." I picked up my kit, each brush and palette going into its designated slot. My hands weren't shaking. Grandma Ida would be proud of that steady grace, the way I folded the case closed like punctuation. The 17 women formed a path not planned, just instinct creating a corridor from the stage to the service exit. As I walked between them, each one nodded. Maria touched my shoulder. Angela whispered, "Beautiful work." Destiny actually smiled. Behind me, I heard my father bark, "Harper Lane. If you walk out that door," I turned one last time. The entire pavilion spread before me, the donors in their gowns, the servers frozen mid-pour, my family clustered at their anniversary table like survivors of a natural disaster. The lights I'd set to 5600K still blazed, turning everyone into versions of themselves they'd never chosen to see. "I'm already gone," I said. The service exit led to a loading dock where Marisol waited with her car running. We'd planned this too, the extraction, the retreat, the moment after truth when consequences would start rolling in. But as we pulled away, Lake Erie spreading dark beside us, I didn't think about consequences. I thought about Melissa's face when she saw the difference between wrong and right foundation. I thought about the woman who'd cried when I covered her port wine birthmark for her daughter's wedding. I thought about every face I'd helped find itself in a mirror. My phone buzzed incessantly. Family numbers I didn't answer. Unknown numbers I didn't recognize. Instagram notifications multiplying like cells dividing. Tomorrow would bring whatever it brought. Contracts canceled or contracts offered. Bridges burned or bridges built. But tonight, driving away from the pavilion still glowing behind us, I pulled out Grandma Ida's compact one more time, opened it in the passing streetlight, read her note again. "The light was always yours." She was right. It always had been. I rolled down the window, letting lake wind tangle through my hair, washing away the smell of hairspray and humiliation. Behind us, the pavilion grew smaller, became a point of light, then nothing. Marisol glanced over. "So what now?" Now, I smiled, and it felt real, felt earned, felt like my own face finally fitting. "Now we build Second Sun House. For real this time. Without them. Because of them," I corrected. "They showed me exactly what I don't want to be." The city lights blurred past Cleveland at night, all its working people heading home, carrying their own dreams, their own rejections, their own small revolutions. Tomorrow, 17 women would tell 17 more women about what happened tonight. And maybe some of them would come to Second Sun, ready to see themselves clearly for the first time. My phone lit up with one more text. Melissa, that was the bravest thing I've ever seen. Grandma Ida would be so proud. I turned the phone off, tucked it away with the compact, and faced forward into the dark road ahead. The light had always been mine. I just had to be brave enough to switch it on. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I'd love to hear where you're listening from. Drop a comment and let's connect. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts below. Your stories of standing up for yourself, your own moments of choosing truth over comfort, mean everything. Until next time, remember, the light was always yours.